And when once you have, there is a switching constraint, you will have different types of switching. That is, two different kinds of SNRs will be there from one branch to the second branch. That's why this 2 term will come into picture. 2 e to the power of minus gamma by gamma bar plus e to the power of minus gamma t plus gamma divided by gamma bar for gamma greater than or equal to gamma t. We can derive this also by using the CDF, by using what is the fading coefficient. How have you arrived at this? We can even derive that, but the thing is, it's a complex procedure. You need to have some Jensen inequalities, and you need to understand some of the fundamental concepts on distribution. So I will not get into those details. So two things you have to remember: P of sigma, anything? Yeah, P of sigma of gamma, P of sigma gamma of sigma gamma is equal to, when gamma is less than the threshold, what is the conditional CDF? That is 1 minus e to the power of minus gamma t by gamma bar minus e to the power of gamma by gamma bar. So similarly, if you want the outage probability as given in the textbook, probability of outage for switch and stay combining is equal to the overall value, that is your outage probability associated with gamma naught, can be written as P gamma sigma of gamma naught is equal to 1 minus e to the power of gamma threshold divided by gamma bar minus e to the power of individual gamma naught minus e to the power of minus gamma naught by gamma bar plus e to the power of minus of gamma t plus gamma naught divided by gamma bar. For all the values of gamma naught less than, not equal to, that is only less than, this is only less than the threshold value. What it inherently means is the performance of SSC under these types of condition. Suppose if the received value is, let's say, 3 dB, it is less than the threshold. Let's say the threshold value is being given as 10 dB. Minimum probability of error, let's say it is fixed to 10 to the power of minus 4, and the minimum requirement at the receiver would be, say, something like 10 dB, and your value of gamma t, the threshold gamma t value is, let's say, 5 dB, 6 dB, 8 dB, something like that. Now the branch SNR is less than, the branch SNR value is greater than the individual value of this gamma bar. Hence you have to use this equation. What is this? 1 minus e to the power of gamma t by gamma bar. Gamma t is the threshold, gamma bar is the total SNR. Here also gamma naught is the individual SNR of the pertaining to the single branch divided by the whole value of gamma bar plus the total value of gamma t plus gamma naught divided by its averaging out. Similarly, if you switch it over, to your gamma naught greater than or equal to gamma t, then what happens? 1 minus 2 times e to the power of minus gamma naught by gamma bar plus e to the power of minus of gamma t, this term, plus gamma naught divided by gamma. If you want a physical insight into this, I need to explain some fundamental concepts on linear algebra, and then you will understand all these things. So to solve problems, you require this, you remember this. You don't want to get into a lot of equations which involves this exponential distributions and how exactly this threshold will vary and all. So that is a little complicated, so you don't want to get into all those things. Just remember this equation to solve the problem. Is it clear? So this is what gamma and gamma t values which are written for threshold. I think the same has been reproduced in many textbooks, okay, even in Knowledge as well as in Andrea Goldsmith and so many textbooks. So that doesn't make any sense as and when you solve some problems. First we will try to understand these two equations with the help of a physical insight, one physical insight or one physical problem, any one problem. Okay. First, find the outage probability find the outage probability. Find the outage probability of a BPSK system. BPSK system for a given probability of error is equal to 10 to the power of minus 4. This system uses two branch SSC, switch and stay combining diversity, SSC diversity. And this system also follows Rayleigh distribution or Rayleigh fading. IID, Rayleigh fading. Okay. Now on each branch for gamma t, on each branch, what happens for threshold value of gamma t is equal to 5, 7 and 10 dB. We have an average SNR of 15 dB. Gamma bar that is equal to SNR has been given as 15 dB. Okay. Explain how outage probability changes with gamma t. Very important. Explain how outage probability changes. Outage probability changes with respect to gamma t, the threshold. Received SNR should be at least 7 dB in order to obtain the probability of error of 10 to the power of minus 4. Okay. Now I'll write it as received SNR. Received SNR should be at least approximately 7 dB in order to maintain that probability of error at 10 to the power of minus 4. That is a little difficult. Compare the outage probability with selection combining and no diversity. Very important. Compare the outage probability with selection combining and no diversity scheme. Now read the question very properly. Now what he has given, find the outage probability of a BPSK system for a given PE of 10 to the power of minus. Probability of error. Now he has not asked you to calculate the probability of error. He has given the probability of error with respect to SNR. He is asking you to calculate the probability of outage. Just remember this. Now in order to achieve this 10 to the power of minus 4, you need at least 7 dB. 7 dB of average SNR. Received SNR should be at least 7 dB in order to maintain the probability of error of 10 to the power of minus 4. Have you understood this part? If you have understood, the problem is solved already. In order to obtain this 10 to the power of minus 4 AVR, you need to have a minimum of 7 dB SNR. That is the received SNR. Should be at least 7 dB. So what is your gamma naught? Gamma naught will be 7 dB. One thing is solved. Now read the question once again. Now for a 2-branch SSC diversity scheme follows IID Rayleigh random fading, IID Rayleigh fading on each branch with threshold gamma as 5, 7, 10. First we will calculate gamma t is equal to 5. Okay, and then what is the average SNR? What is the average received SNR? Should be at least 7 dB. And what is the branch average SNR? Gamma naught is 7 dB. Okay, what is the branch average SNR? Branch average SNR is gamma bar. That is what? 15 dB. Everything is good. You convert it into a form. Now everything is in dB. Now you want in normal scale, normal value you want. Gamma by gamma bar or gamma naught by gamma bar you want. So you just convert it into 10 to the power of something by something, or 10 to the power of gamma naught by 10, 10 to the power of gamma bar by 10. You will get a value. So you substitute, you will get. Now read the question once again. Now he has asked you to find out the outage probability after giving the probability of error. In order to obtain this probability of error 10 to the power of minus 4, you need a minimum value of SNR, that is 7 dB. What is gamma naught? Now, the gamma naught is 7 dB. What is gamma t? Gamma t is 5 dB. Gamma naught is 7 dB. Go back to the previous slide. What is that? Gamma naught less than gamma t. What is gamma naught? Gamma naught is 7. Gamma t is 5 dB. And what are you going to use? Gamma naught greater than gamma t. Which equation you are going to use? When gamma naught is greater than equal to gamma t, 1 minus 2e to the power of minus gamma by gamma bar, gamma naught by gamma bar, plus e to the power of minus gamma t plus gamma naught divided by gamma bar you will use. And gamma naught greater than gamma t. Suppose for 7 it is equivalent, greater than or equal to, you can use the same for 10 you have to use this equation for gamma naught less than 10. Are you all with me? I know it's little bit of mathematics involved in it, but it's not so difficult to understand the question. That's how I feel. Okay. Now, one thing I'll show you. The rest you can follow. I think rest you can do it on your own. Okay. First thing. So P out. So first is what? 5. Gamma t is equal to 5. So P out is equal to what? P out is equal to 1 minus 2e to the power of minus gamma by gamma bar plus e to the power of minus gamma t plus gamma naught divided by gamma bar. You substitute, that is equal to 1 minus 2 into e to the power of minus 10 to the power of what you have 7 by 10, that is 0.7 divided by 10 to the power of 15 by 10, that is 1.5. So plus e to the power of minus 10 to the power of 0.5 plus 10 to the power of 15 by 10, 1.5 divided by 10 to the power of 1.5. So if you calculate this, probability of outage will be somewhere around 0.065. So this is for what? This is for gamma naught is equal to 7. Or gamma t is what? Gamma t is 5. Similarly, gamma t, if you take it as 7, for P out, this is 5 I will write. Similarly, P outage of 7 you calculate approximately. In fact, it is equal, not approximately. Okay. 1 minus 2e to the power of 10 by 0.7 by 10 to the power of 1.5 plus 10 to the power of minus 0.7 plus 10 to the power of 1.5. This is approximately around 0.215. So P out for 10, you have to use the first equation. After using the first equation, 1 minus e to the power of minus 10 by e to the power 10 by 10 to the power of 1.5, so on and so forth. You will get 0.0397. See, the outage probability is very small when gamma t is equal to is smaller for gamma t equal to 7 dB than for other two values. So what does it mean? When you have 5, you have 0.065. When probability of outage for 10, it is 0.0397. At gamma t is equal to 10 dB, the threshold is very high. At the last one, the threshold is very high. What does it mean? The threshold is high means the active branch will often take the antenna pattern abruptly. This antenna, even though the switch will happen, the switching will happen even in case of lower SNR value at the negative. So what does it mean? It means When the threshold is too high, the active branch will often fall below this threshold value, which will cause the combiner to switch to other branch, which is often more compared to this branch. Okay? Value of this branch is very high in the threshold value, so it will switch. So similarly, the P out for different values that you can calculate, there is also a error equation that is given. So probability of error for this can also be calculated. I will write the closed form solution. I don't want to derive because I will not ask this probability of error in the exam also. I will not ask, but just I'll let you know. I think probability of error for SSC over let's say for DPSK 0 to infinity 1 by 2 e to the power of minus gamma p sigma gamma, p gamma sigma of gamma into d gamma is equal to 1 by 2 into 1 plus gamma bar into 1 minus e to the power of minus gamma t by gamma bar plus e to the power of minus gamma t into e to the power of minus gamma t by gamma bar. I don't want you to derive all these things. You have to remember this equation to solve the problem. This is the closed form symbol error for DPSK after switch and stay combined. Does that make any sense? I don't think so. So until and unless if you understand how exactly this can be derived easily by using binomial expansion. Easily. But if I start deriving all those things, you will switch off and sleep. So 1 by 2 1 plus gamma bar into 1 minus e to the power of minus gamma t by gamma bar plus e to the power of minus gamma t into e to the power of minus gamma t by gamma bar. You remember this. This is over a Rayleigh-Feding closed form solution, closed form result for differential PSK under IID Rayleigh-Feding on each branch. The average probability or symbol error for DPSK can be derived by using this equation. There is a problem associated with this. Okay. Find the average probability of DPSK. Now, it doesn't make any sense by simply substituting all these things. What kind of questions that you can understand or what kind of ideas that you can bring in from this? Let me try to tell you from the beginning now. Now, what have we understood from this? Here, we have understood what is the L branch as and when the branch increases, what is happening over here. What is happening with the outage probability. Now here I have derived the equation in the similar lines. You can also derive the probability of error for SC. Okay. Similarly, there is an abrupt shift which happens at the lower SNR value, gamma threshold for threshold combining. That's a random switching. And if you want outage probability equation for selection, switch and stay combining, these are the equations, very important equations. This you need to remember in order to solve the problems. Okay. Now you have understood what is the role of studying this switch and stay combining. What is the role of studying? What is the advantage that you can bring out from understanding this probability of error, from understanding this outage? What is the benefit that you can employ? Now, one practical advantage of using this switch and stay combining is, suppose if the gamma threshold value, if you choose properly, if this is your gamma threshold value, and if you are using switch and stay combining without examining anything, most of the times, 90% of the times, you can avoid this unnecessary switching. Unnecessary switching can be avoided. Unnecessary switching. That is not possible with selection combining. That is not possible with selection combining. Now, what is the drawback of this? The drawback of this is, in the lower part of the SNR, you cannot switch indefinitely. A random switch will happen. You may get a better SNR which is close to the threshold, or you may get a worst possible SNR which is very much below the gamma threshold value. That is one disadvantage, this selection switch and stay combining. But what are you avoiding? Unnecessary transients, unnecessary switching from one branch to other branch will be avoided. That is why the insight to this can be drawn something like this. Now this is my BER, not P out, this is my BER, this is my SNR. with respect to this, if you draw something like the probability of error, now let's consider this as no diversity, and let's consider this for diversity. The dotted line is for diversity, the complete diversity. Let's say diversity of order 3 or 4 or something like that, or 2 even for that matter. The output of the switch and stay combining will be somewhere here. This improvement is because of selection combining, or selection or switch and stay combining, and this performance deterioration compared to this selection combining, this diversity of selection combining, is due to this negative SNR value where it could not switch properly. This is the physical insight that you can draw. Now, what is the advantage of studying this? You can remember, not a problem. You can derive, also not a problem. But what is the advantage? This is nothing but your PDF. From the PDF, you take the probability of error 1 by 2 e to the power of minus gamma, p gamma of sigma, gamma d gamma. If you go with binomial distribution, you can derive this. Not a problem. But what is the analysis? Now you can compare the average error probability under SC and with no diversity, and this you can compare it with this one, whatever I have written over here. By using this equation, by just using this equation, without understanding anything, without deriving all these things, just by AVER and SNR, by taking the values of threshold, gamma naught, you can predict the value of AVER. What does it mean? The average probability of error for a DPSK modulation under at least a 2-branch diversity scheme, only Rayleigh fading environment on each branch for threshold values, for different threshold values, you can find out what is the performance analysis. Why it is required? It is required because most of the practical systems employ this for non-coherent detection instead of SC. Because it's a random switch, and I'm ready to compromise on this performance. Let's say 2 dB worse performance compared to this. It's okay, fine. I'll invest some more power over here and I'll go with this. But the switching complexities over SC can be avoided by using this switch and stay combining. There are other modifications to this switch and stay with examination combining, which will give you even better improvement over SSC and approximately equivalent to your SC. 1 dB performance compromise can be done. Those are out of the syllabus, so we'll not discuss all those things. So this is it about switch and stay combining and selection combining method and those probability of error equations. So probability of outage, probability of error. So these are all some of the critical factors that you need to understand with respect to switch and stay combining. So this is what we have understood. Now there is a practical limitation to this also. Now we have understood uncorrelated branches, uncorrelated Rayleigh fading. Okay, this is what we have understood. Now if the Rayleigh, usually it is represented as rho, okay, 0, 0.5 and 0.9. This is no correlation, this is partial correlation, and this is dense correlation. Now what happens in case of dense correlation? Your branch start to mimic. Your branches will start to mimic. Now if there is a fading component, and if there is correlation in the branches because of channel correlation or because of the transmit correlation, then it becomes impossible to obtain the proper VER at a rho is equal to 0.9, at a value of rho is equal to 0.9. So in that case, whatever you do, until and unless if the system is not coded properly, retrieve or to get a proper VER versus SNR. If your VER is somewhere around 10 dB, in order to achieve a bit rate of 10 to the power of minus 4, in order to achieve this in a correlated fading environment, you may need higher power, let's say 30 dB. Otherwise, you will get an error flow and you will have a plot something like this. You will be clocked at 10 to the power of minus 2 itself. This happens because of correlatedness. How to avoid those correlations, and is there any better argument? Is there a better way of understanding this fact? Yes, you can go with coded technologies like Trellis code. Trellis code, one of the effective and simple coding design that was given by Ungerbuch in 1987. Okay, Gottfried Ungerbuch, he has worked for about 5-6 years in order to get a Trellis code. This distributes, even in correlated environment, you will get a better performance of approximately 3 dB with hard decision decoding. If you go for soft decision decoding, approximately you will get 7 dB improvement. Instead of getting at 30 dB, you will get it at 23 dB itself. So these are all some of the concepts which they have worked on. And in beyond 5G and all, in 4G and 5G, LDPC and polar codes have been incorporated in order to reduce the effect of spatial correlation. LDPC codes with lesser rates, let's say 0.6 or 0.7 rate, in order to wonderful performance, LDPC and turbo codes have been employed in order to get a better performance. That is one way of looking at the situation. So this is it about selection combining and switch and select combining. Any queries, any clarifications, any conceptual doubts, any mathematical doubts? Why error bounds? Why all these things we have to study? Not such questions, but if you have any queries, you do let me know. Anything binomial distribution you have to understand, then you will understand everything. Okay. We'll take 2 minutes break and we'll start with another combining technique which will give much more superior performance compared to and switch selection combining or threshold combining. Any queries? Good. Nobody has understood. Good. But if you don't repeat, if you don't look at the videos properly, you may not be able to understand. That's for sure. Or if you don't read Andrea Goldsmith properly, you don't understand. That is for sure. So go back, work it once again, not the day before the examination or not previous day of the examination. Just go through it once so that you will have a better idea.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I don't have a query, but since you mentioned the video, the previous class's recording is no longer available.
Why, what happened?
That it may have been removed. Do you have any idea, sir?
May have been removed means?
I don't know, sir. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I saw that video 3 times. Huh? There were 6 views yesterday. Let me check it out. It will be there in stream. I'll check it out. It is not visible or it's not available at all?
Try to access it from Teams. It says that the video may have been removed.
Video have been removed, huh? I'll check. I might have done something. Let's check. I saw that video yesterday only. Okay, fine, not a problem. Okay, it will be there in the streams. If it is not there, I'll try to redo that again. Not a problem. I'll save this and one second.
Oh, so it hasn't been uploaded on Streams either. I just checked. It hasn't been uploaded on MS Streams either, on Microsoft Streams. I just checked right now.
It has been uploaded?
No sir, it hasn't. On Streams.
It has not been uploaded, huh?
Yes sir.
Okay.
It only shows 1 and 2.
I'll redo it, no problem. I'll redo it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, the next concept of our discussion is on one of the wonderful forms of combining called the maximal ratio combining. In this combining, the combiner uses all the branches simultaneously. Now, what happens at the receiver is each of the branch signal is weighted with a gain factor. The gain factors or weight factors alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, that is with a gain factor. Now you cannot use unnecessary values of alpha or any value of alpha. That value of alpha with a gain factor that has to be proportional to its own SNR, and all of the signals are combined to give the resulting signal, that is your Y. What does it mean? It means at the receiver each branch signal is weighted. That is alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, all are taken into consideration. All have been combined with a different gain factor or weight factor to give the resulting signal. Now, a problem with this method is individual signals must have the same phase shift. Individual signals have same phase shift before combining. Otherwise, now if alpha is with a phase shift of 0 and this alpha 2, if it has a phase shift of 90 degree, then it won't work properly. Then it should have a co-phasing before combining. There is one more block that generally books don't discuss. This is required, that is co-phasing. Co-phasing is required here. Co-phasing. Otherwise, there is a problem. Individual signal must have the same phase and phase shift before combining. Otherwise, you cannot combine it properly. You don't get a proper output. If the combining takes place before the detector, the co-phasing is carried out at the RF to IF, at IF conversion, after down conversion. So there are some difficulties with this, but this is one of the beautiful methods wherein you have a structure called symbol S 00101110, something like that, has to be transmitted over the air. This is my channel. Let's assume this is Rayleigh uncorrelated channel. Rayleigh uncorrelated. Now for a Rayleigh uncorrelated channel, I have H1, H2, H3, all are independent and identically distributed with Rayleigh faded, and all are not mimicking their behavior. Means equal fading or equal amount of fading is not happening at the same amount of time. I have receiver, I have 3 receivers or MR receivers. This should be MR, isn't it? Okay, fine. Now what is happening at this stage? Now what is happening is the received output. Instead of switch over here, instead of switch, I have a combiner. Instead of switch, I have a combiner, and co-phasing is a must. Co-phasing is must means everything has to be converted to the same phase, then only it should give it to the combiner. At the IF stage itself, everything has to be combined, and the co-phasing has to be performed, and then combiner will take the output. Now what is the advantage of this method? The advantage of this method is pretty simple. Take the SNRs, okay, take the SNR of all the branches. Let's say it is T. This is your gamma 1, gamma 2, gamma 3. Now one is something like this, and the other is something like this, and suppose the other is something like this. Now what could be the output? Output is the combination, added version of all these things. Added version of all these things. It will never go below the threshold value. It will never go beyond some threshold value of your gamma. Even if you set a higher value of threshold, it will be high because everything is getting added up with different fading coefficients. How do you choose this weighting factors? That is the important question. For MRC, assign the weights corresponding to each branch so that overall SNR is maximized. That is the concept. Just understand the concept. For MRC, assign the weights according to each branch so that overall SNR is maximized on the receiver. How do you do that? Mathematically, how do you prove that? So, very simple, but the thing is, Y is what? Y is NT cross 1 matrix. NT cross 1 matrix means Y is what? The received vector. Received vector is what? Summation I is equal to 1 to M, because 1 to MR or M, whatever. MR or M. MR or M, whatever. Okay. Now, alpha I is I equal to 1, 2, 3 weighted factors with respect to gain into Y is equal to HS plus N. Y is equal to HS plus N, you know, HX plus N or HS plus N, because this is the channel matrix, this is the symbol that is radiated, this is the additive white Gaussian noise that is getting added up. Now what has happened here? HIS plus NI, because number I ranges from 1 to MR, whatever. Now in case of, if you go back and understand with the selection combiner what happens, this is I conjugate maximum, that is argmax. In selection combining, in SC, what have we done? Argument maximum of what? You remember anything? Norm of HI square that we had done. Argmax, where I is equal to 1 to MR, isn't it so? Now this is what we had written for selection combiner. I conjugate is equal to argmax HI square. Maximum of this, maximum of whatever you have to do. Now for MRC, what you have to do is, this is for SC, let me rub this, okay. For MRC, what you have to do is, remember this principle, assign the weights, assign the weights, assign the weights, assign the weights corresponding to each branch, corresponding to each branch, so that overall SNR is maximized. What does it mean? It means alpha I that you are going to have will be HI conjugate. What does it mean? For this is for the lower order modulation schemes, BPSK and QPSK. In order to calculate the probability of error, this would be sufficient, HI conjugate. Now this won't happen if you increase the order. If you increase the order to 8 or 16 or 256 or something like that, this won't work. Then what you have to do? Then you have to average it out. Alpha I should be written in terms of hi conjugate divided by the overall combination summation k equal to 0 to mod hk square, or how many number of branches you have, mr branch hk square. K is, because of this, k equal to 0, you can change the order. So if you just average it out over all the branches, then what happens? Automatically SNR at every branch has been optimized. Then the overall SNR at the receiver will be high. How do you write that? In order to write that, y is the received vector, summation I will write I is equal to 1 to m or mr. Alpha I is the coefficient that you have trained, that is added, that is the gain factor. Hi into S. S is the symbol. Hi is the channel matrix with respect to H1, H2, H3, so on and so forth, and individual noise component Ni. So alpha I is equal to Hi conjugate. Now if you consider this alpha I is equal to Hi conjugate, then you have to separate it out. Now in the previous slide, what I had written for lower order modulation schemes, alpha I is equal to Hi conjugate. In order to do that, summation I is equal to 1 to m Hi square, the norm, into S plus summation, let's say I is equal to 1 to m Hi conjugate with respect to the noise term. So what happens, that y is equal to S into summation I is equal to 1 to m Hi square, Hi mod square, plus summation I is equal to 1 to m Hi conjugate into n. What does it mean? It means at the receiver we are getting sum of all the coefficients of the channel square. Each channel is getting weighed. Means in order to add the signal, that is S, in order to add the signal, we are weighting S by a factor, S by the corresponding signal strength by the channel. Now if you make this as 1, what happens? It becomes what? Selection combining. In selection combining, it is the only one branch which takes care of the SNR. If the SNR goes below, then automatically it will switch to the next branch. In selection combining, there is only one branch. Now here additional terms are corresponding to the channel strength. Now in order to add the signal, you have to weigh S by the corresponding signal strength. What is that corresponding signal strength? The corresponding signal strength is H into S, H2 into S, H3 into S, HNR into S. Now once if you start to do this, what happens is the maximal ratio. Now simple implications I'll show you. Now you have, let's say, shifted QPSK or offset QPSK. This is 1 plus J, this is 1 minus J, this is minus 1 minus J, minus 1 plus J, something like that. I think I've written built up. Okay, minus 1 plus J. Let's assume these are the constellation points. Now with respect to H, this 1 plus J will shift. Because of the noise content, the symbol that has been radiated here, might shift to this location, or to somewhere here, out of bound location. Now the distance corresponding to this point, what is the minimum distance between this point to this point, this point to this point, or from this point to this point, you have to understand. The minimum distance will be decoded. That is next, I'll tell you how it can be done. Now what I'm trying to say here is H1, or at the receiver we are getting sum of all the coefficients of the channel square, that is each channel is getting weighed. Now each channel is getting weighed with respect to channel matrix, that is H. Now instead of leaving out some of the branches, all the branches, or let's say if one branch is good, we'll take that branch. Instead of doing that, here in MRC we have to combine all the branches in such a way that we improve the SNR of the combiner output. That is the crux of our work. Now, what does it mean? It means alpha I can be represented as Hi conjugate divided by square root of sum of K into HK, mod HK square. What does it mean? What is the physical insight of this? Physical insight of this equation is weight of the branch corresponding to the strength of the signal over all the other branches. I'll tell you once again. Look at this. Look at this. HI conjugate is the channel matrix that has been used in with respect to alpha I. Alpha I, how do you choose alpha I? Alpha I is equal to HI conjugate divided by square root of summation k hk mod square is weight of the branch corresponding to the strength of the signal over all the other branches. Very simple. Very simple. HI conjugate is weight of the branch divided by summation of all the branches over all the other branches. Ratio of the individual branch over all the branches. Simple. Simple. Individual branch over all the branches. If the branch is good, put higher weights. Are you with me? If the branch is good, put higher weights. How do you choose alpha here? I'm not talking about the co-phasing here. I'm talking about how do you choose alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3 and so on and so forth. If the branch has a signal strength, lower signal strength, put some value for that. It is like, I should not be giving you this example, I'll give you, but just remember. Now, how to choose all these things? Now, if somebody scores less, put some less marks. That's all. Very simple. Alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3. How it is graded properly? How it is graded properly means if SNR is good because of HI conjugate and if your receiving signal strength is good, put higher weights. You take it first so that you can combine with respect to the average SNR at all the branches. You are not leaving out anything. You are not leaving out anything. If the branch is good, put higher weights. That's all. That the branch, and if branch is faded, then weights are substantially less. Are you all with me? Try to understand this concept. Ratio of the individual branch over all the branches is HI conjugate divided by square root of summation KH mod square. That is, if the branch is good, put higher weights to that branch. Otherwise, if the branch is faded because of the noise or because of the fading effect or because of shadowing, something like that, then substantially put lower weights so that arrange sort according to the increasing order of the weights or decreasing order of the weights based on the receiver that you are going to have. Now, what is the advantage of doing this? The advantage would be the probability of error of good branch is very good, isn't it so? If the SNR is good, obviously you will get a higher probability of error even at 10 to the power of minus 5 you can reach with a lower SNR itself. The probability of error of good branch is very good. But you are not sure about the other probability of errors for the lower weights because the lower weights also depends on the faded branch. I think all of you have to understand this. Let's say H3 or HMR has a lower weight. Let's say alpha 3 has a lower weight. You are not leaving that branch. You are still combining that. Let's say alpha 2 has a highest value. You just take that into consideration and you are not leaving anything. Average it out by everything so that you will get a proper average. So what does it mean? The insight is probability of good branch is good, but we are not leaving out any other branches, but process with lesser weights. Now, what is the fun in doing this? You have understood already. HI conjugate is square root of summation HK square. So that you will get a higher value of SNR, which is always above the threshold value. Now, how do you calculate that? It is with respect to the expectation. SNR is equal to expectation of signal square divided by expectation of noise square. Remember the linear algebra concepts? Expectation of signal square by noise square. That is nothing but your expectation of HI square divided by H conjugate square. So summation, expectation of signal square is nothing but your, it is not E, I will write it as summation HI square, okay, expectation of this S square divided by summation of HI conjugate square. HI conjugate square. Kronecker model, if you use expectation of HI into HK, that is expectation of summation, let's write it as HI conjugate into Ni with respect to the noise into summation K into HK into Ni conjugate. So SNR will be what? SNR will be expectation of S square divided by expectation of noise square, expectation of signal square divided by expectation of noise square into summation I is equal to 1 to M or 1 to MR into HI square. It makes some sense. After explaining that, it makes some sense. What is this? I is equal to 1 to m hi square. It is there. It's averaged out with respect to the individual signal strength. Now what does it mean? It means you have a higher SNR value. How to calculate that higher SNR value? How do you write that? Now, if you want to write that, you can write gamma threshold or gamma sigma, whatever, gamma sigma or gamma m or gamma sigma m or gamma sigma whatever. So I will write it as simple gamma only, that is equal to expectation of S square. This will give you a better insight. Expectation of noise component n square. Yes. Okay. N square into mod h1 square plus expectation of signal 2. This is signal 1 noise 1, signal 2 square divided by expectation of n2 into mod of h2 square. So on and so forth up to mr. That is expectation of s square divided by expectation of noise term with respect to mod of hm mod square. That is nothing but gamma m or gamma sufficient value of gamma, that is equal to summation I is equal to 1 to m or mr gamma individual value. Now how does it look like? If you observe carefully, this is h1, h2, h3, h4, h so on and so forth. That is your hi. S E of s square divided by E of expectation of n square I equal to 1 to m hi square. Now what do you infer? You can infer this. Have you studied chi-square distribution? Chi-square distribution. This looks like, this follows the principle of chi-square distributed with 2 degrees of freedom. If mr branches you have, expected value of gamma sigma bar with variance with the mean of m gamma bar and variance of 2m gamma bar, mr is equal to m. So you will have 2m degrees of freedom. 2m degrees of freedom. So if you have not studied, the properties of PDF, CDF, characteristic function, moment generating function, and the distributions pertaining to chi-square distribution and so on and so forth, you don't feel like what is the 2n degrees of freedom. Okay, if you have not understood, you just do let me know. I can take another class on what is that chi-square distribution and so on. So probability of gamma sigma, how do you write? Gamma sigma of gamma is equal to gamma m to the power of m minus 1 into e to the power of minus gamma m divided by gamma bar all to the divided by gamma m divided by m minus 1 factorial. For gamma m greater than 0, the average SNR of each branch can be expected by E of expectation of gamma 1, that is equal to gamma bar, expectation of gamma 2, that is equal to gamma bar, expectation of gamma 3, so on and so forth. So what do you infer from this? Gamma m is equal to m into gamma bar. Gamma m is equal to m into gamma bar. This is for MRC. This is for MRC. What is for selection combining? Selection combining, it is gamma m or gamma sigma of gamma, that is equal to gamma of summation I is equal to 1 to m 1 by I. Now look at the difference. Here you have summation 1 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 so on and so forth. Here gamma m is equal to m into gamma bar. Combined SNR. Combined SNR. SNR, what it gives? SNR is equal to m into gamma bar. M into gamma bar. If you have 2 branch, 2 into gamma bar. If you have 10 branches, 10 into gamma bar. So SNR will be very high all the time. Comparing with this with selection combining, what we have? We have a linear improvement or a linear increase in the value of SNR in MRC compared with our selection combining. That's why it is the best possible combining that one can ever have. So now if you have not studied the 2m degrees of freedom, to obtain that distribution, we take the product of exponential moment generating functions or characteristic function, assuming IID Rayleigh fading, assuming Rayleigh IID fading of each channel with respect to the SNR gamma bar, and then it has been distributed with chi-square distribution with 2m degrees of freedom. I hope you have not understood that. If you have not understood that, quickly I can give you an example of how exactly the chi-square distribution looks like. System under transformation, have you studied? Have you studied that systems under transformation in digital communication? I think you might have studied system under transformation. This is aside, okay? We don't have to record this. Let's see, okay? If you have not understood that chi-square distribution, just to understand that concept, let's take random variables. Let's consider two independent random variables, x and y. Okay. Now, I have another random variable z, which says x square plus y square. X square plus y square. Find the PDF of z which belongs to x, which is of the fashion x square plus y square. How do you do this? Now, from the uniform distribution, you have to consider this x is uniform distributed with mean 0 and unit variance. Similarly, y is with the uniform distribution, something like this, and you will follow that Gaussian rule. Fx of x is equal to 1 by square root of 2 pi sigma square, okay, into e to the power of minus x square by 2 sigma square. This is how you write it. Just try to remember this. Fy of y is equal to 1 by 2 sigma square, square root of 2 pi sigma square. Gaussian distribution, very simple, e to the power minus y square divided by 2 sigma square. Okay. Now, if it is invertible, you have one thing. If it is not invertible, that is one thing. So z square is equal to x square plus y square. For non-invertible system, you have to calculate how exactly it looks like. So after a lot of integration of about 2 to 3 pages, you can calculate the fz of z. Okay, fz of z. That will be something like, if I remember properly, that will be something like 2 sigma square into it will be an exponential distribution with minus z divided by 2 sigma square. So 0 less than equal to z less than infinity. So this will be in this fashion. This is called chi-square distribution. Chi-square distribution, specifically chi-square random variable. You can call this as a chi-square random variable. This is something represented in this fashion. Z is equal to x square plus y square. If you want to find the PDF of z, which is of the form x square plus y square, where x and y are independent random variables, and if they are normally distributed with unit mean 0 and variance sigma square, and if you can find out, you will get it in this fashion. So this is chi-square distribution. This is chi-square distribution with 2 degrees of freedom. 2 degrees of freedom. Similarly, if you go back to this, you have this here with 2m degrees of freedom. 2m degrees of freedom. It is nothing but, what do you mean by 2m degrees of freedom? It is of the same fashion. It's of the same fashion. Now, if you compare that, the 2m degrees of freedom means what? E expectation of s square divided by expectation of noise square into h1 square with 2 degrees of freedom. Since you have mr branches, you have, if you look at this, you have m branches. So instead of 2 degrees of freedom with respect to this, you have 2m degrees of freedom because you have m number of branches. That's what I mean. Okay, fine. If you have not followed this concept, then you need to look into all these things. Basic essential components of wireless and digital communications, then distributions, relay, and AWGN distribution with chi-square distribution, how exactly chi-square comes into picture. Okay, if still after reading that, if you have not followed, just do message me and we can have one more discussion on that. Okay, now what have you understood? Gamma m is equal to m into gamma bar, that is MRC. Comparing with selection combining, we have a linear increase in the value of SNR of MRC. What does it mean? It does a lot of good things for us. What good things? Lot of good things means, what are all the lot of good things? The probability of outage with respect to probability of outage in MRC is gamma m to the power of m minus 1 into e to the power of minus gamma m by gamma bar divided by gamma to the power of m divided by minus 1 factorial. So how does this make some good thing? So this is the variance whatever we have calculated with the 2m gamma bar is with respect to the moment generating function, the characteristic function. If you want to find out the outage probability for gamma sigma less than gamma naught, then again you have to substitute in between 0 to gamma naught, integrate, you will get one more term, e to the power of minus gamma by gamma naught. Now that is not what I want. What I want is you have to remember two things. What is the output SNR? What is the output SNR of the combiner? How do you calculate the output SNR of the combiner? After doing combining here, what is the output SNR? How do you combine? That is nothing but the received output 1 by n naught into summation of all these components square divided by average value. So after doing this, how do you calculate the outage probability? Outage probability is nothing but P gamma of sigma into gamma d gamma, that is equal to summation of gamma naught by gamma bar whole to the power of k minus 1 divided by k minus 1 factorial or m minus 1 factorial, whatever it is, into 1 minus e to the power of minus gamma by gamma naught. Now if you just go with the plot, if you try to understand with respect to the outage probability with respect to SNR, with, let's say this is P out and SNR. Now with no diversity, it will be somewhere around 40 dB in order to get a outage probability of 10 to the, this is not BR, okay, this is not BR, this is outage probability. To achieve outage probability of 10 to the power of minus 4, you require 40 dB of SNR. Now if you, this is m is equal to, let's say 1. Now just simply if you go with m is equal to 2, you will come at around 18 dB. Look at this, 18 dB to say 40 dB. That is the significance of using this maximal ratio combining. Maximal ratio combine. Now if the same thing, and what is the outage probability of selection combining in relay fading channel? 10 to the power of minus 4 can be achieved with somewhere at 22 dB. Even better than, this is selection combining, this is MRC. Even better than selection combining. Okay, it is even better than selection combining. You forget about selection and switch. Switch combining will require somewhere around 30 dB of SNR, that is SSC. So what have you understood from this? See, the average probability of error, or the probability of outage will be very less, or it is realizable in case of maximal ratio combining compared to selection combining. 3 dB improvement means 50% of power that is reduced. 50% minus 3 dB gain, 50%, half power. So maximal ratio combining will give you a comparatively 50% or 3 dB gain compared to your selection combining. Approximately, may not be 3 dB all the time, at least 3 dB. If you want a proper analogy, it is in between 2.3 to 3 dB. It will vary in the range 2.3 dB to 3 dB. So if you go with probability of error, you can calculate the probability of error also similar to the one what we have calculated, similar to the same thing, probability of error. Look at the probability of error here, 30 dB for m is equal to 2 in selection combining. In selection combining, what we are getting is 30 dB. You will be getting somewhere around 24 or 25 dB for 10 to the power of minus 6. 26, let's say. 26, 4 dB improvement you will have for MRC. Then what could be this probability of error equation? Let me not burden you with all those derivations, but what to do, you have to remember this. There is no other alternative. This can be derived in the same fashion what I have shown for selection combining. Same to same. 1 minus of capital gamma divided by 2 into whole to the power of m because of m branch. That is m is equal to 0 to m minus 1. And this is m minus 1 plus m choose m into 1 plus gamma divided by 2 whole to the power of m, where gamma is equal to square root of gamma bar divided by 1 plus gamma bar. Okay. So remember this equation, that would be sufficient. If you try, you will understand better. I don't want you to derive all those things. Okay, you can just see. What does it mean? The average probability of symbol error from P of gamma, the probability of symbol error in AWGN for the signal modulation, and the distribution for BPSK or DPSK. Both it will work for BPSK as well as for DPSK. I think for DPSK is little complicated also. This is for BPSK, I believe. With IID relay fielding, you will get this equation. So, what is the drawback of this system? The drawback of this system is this is very hectic. You cannot simply go with this method to calculate everything. You cannot remember all the time. So you cannot go with this is the closed form solution. This is the closed form solution. Is there any upper bound technique which is easy to remember by using some other methods, like upper bounding using union bound or Chernoff bound or Bhattacharya bounds or something like that? Okay, is there any method so that it would be easier to remember and it is not wrong? Suppose if you are getting a value of ABER at approximately at 30 dB for a ABER of 10 to the power of minus 4, approximately 0.8 dB to 1 dB performance deterioration or performance mismatch you will have if you are using bounding techniques. Now, if this order varies from m is equal to 1 to let's say m is equal to let's say 64 for a massive MIMO, your system will die automatically while calculating the equation. System m is equal to 64, like massive MIMO 64 cross 64. You cannot simply calculate that. You need to have an upper bound so that it can be easily attributed or easily can be found out. The ABR can be approximated to a proper value. You may have somewhere around 1 dB difference at lower SNRs, and at higher SNRs you will have a proper value of output. I think we can discuss that also, but not today. Okay. Now, what I want you to understand. We have seen so many things today, but let me recap what are all the things that you have studied. Outage probability that you have understood from the outage probability equation. I do remember that equation, and then you can derive this probability of error by considering that CDF. First the derivative of the CDF will be PDF. Take that PDF, take it into equation 2 and start integrating. You will get the output for that. And this is the output m by 2. This is what the output for that for selection combiner using DPSK. Now I have told you what are all the different criteria, switch and stay combining. In switch and stay combining, what are all the different criteria that we see. And then in the next thing, the next combining in the selection combining, we had seen the outage probability also. What happens if gamma naught less than gamma t? What happens if gamma naught greater than gamma t? If gamma naught is greater than the threshold value, how the switching takes place. That's why this term 2 comes into picture. Okay, and then we had seen some a simple problem on how to calculate this, and then again we had seen some probability of error for again the same fashion. You can continue in order to get that this PDF. Again, integrate that PDF, you will get this equation with respect to binomial distribution. So what is the diversity order and all we have seen. In maximal ratio combining, we had seen so many things, that H1, H2, H3, how exactly it will vary and all, how exactly it will vary and all, and then BPSK, QPSK, and what is this HI, how you maximize over. For this is for higher order modulation schemes, that is m is equal to 8, 16 or 256, something like that. And then combined with the selection scheme, the MRC will give you a linear increase in your threshold value, that is gamma m. Gamma m is equal to m into gamma bar. In case of selection combining, that is I equal to 1 to m 1 by I. So if you have not understood this fact, I think you have to see that chi-square distribution once again. What is that chi-square distribution? How 2m degrees of freedom you will get with respect to this 2m degrees of freedom. Okay, and I think this is it for today's class. I know there are a lot of issues to be discussed. If you have any queries, you do let me know. I can clarify. Because a lot of mathematics involved in it. So much of mathematics. Probably previously in digital communication, you might have not got the opportunity to solve. Once if you try to solve this, you will be good. I think you will be very good with that. It's not so difficult. You have to put some efforts. That's all. Any questions? Please go and ask some questions regarding this.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So, can you go back to the slide where we talk about maximization using that argument of maximum thing?
This one?
Next one, I think. I think, anyways, you erased it. But wait, the question is that when we mean conjugate, we mean complex conjugate here, right?
Yes, complex conjugate. Yes.
So at some point we were dividing the sigma of h of I conjugate square divided by again the same thing, but there was no conjugate in the denominator.
I think I missed it somewhere. Which one?
So,
This one?
wait, I think it's after this.
HI conjugate, it has to be conjugate, no? Otherwise, the expectation of HI conjugate into Ni, summation HK into Ni conjugate, HI and HK are independent. So expectation of HI into HK, if you do it, if I is equal to K, then it is equal to 0 according to Rayleigh distribution. Otherwise, if I is equal to K, then it becomes 1. Similarly for noise, expectation of S square divided by expectation of N square. I think I missed it. This one you're talking about.
No, not in this slide, sir, after this.
After this,
when we start summing the SNRs up. Yes, somewhere here.
Somewhere here, where I missed?
Yeah, here. The summation of mod HI square divided by summation of mod HI conjugate square. That should be 1, sir, isn't it?
That should be 1. That is what? Expectation. That is what? Yes. Expectation of HI into HK, that is what linear algebra. That is equal to 0 if I is not equal to K. That is the assumption actually. That is equal to 1 if I is not equal to K. I is equal to K. Okay. If I is not equal to K, then what you are saying is correct. If I is equal to K, that is 1. If I is not equal to K, then it has to be treated as 0 because of the distribution. Your answer is right. Similarly, it happens with expectation of Ni into Nj, that is equal to 0 if I is not equal to j. Similarly, if it becomes equal to 1 if I is equal to j. This you need to remember. That is what, that is because you're right, you're absolutely correct. Assumption is like for a Rayleigh random variable, for a Rayleigh random variable, in order to calculate the SNR, the expectation of HI into HK, that is equal to 1 if I is equal to K, only 1, then it becomes equal to 1. Otherwise, it becomes 0. Otherwise, your properties will not, means expectation of Ni into Nj is equal to 0 if I is not equal to j, that becomes equal to sigma n square if I equal to j. So this becomes equal to your variance, sigma square. So this will not hold good if you don't use this assumption. But that is not wrong, actually. Actually, that is not wrong. If you are not convinced, then you can do one thing here. So calculate the mean value, the expectation of gamma I, that becomes equal to gamma bar. Similarly, over expectation of gamma I, summation expectation of gamma, if you can calculate, then you will get the same answer. Now you can argue in a different way. Now, what if the distribution is not Rayleigh? If it is a correlated Rayleigh, then your CDF will change. If your CDF will change, then I may not be equal to K. I becomes equal to K. doesn't happen all the time, then the maximal ratio, what you are dividing summation hi square max, that won't be maximum all the time. So you will get an approximate solution of the individual probabilities of SNR here. You're absolutely correct, no question about it. But this is the assumption. If this assumption is not made, then this won't have that meaning, because it is normal distribution and Rayleigh distribution won't come into picture. That won't happen properly. That is one thing we have to assume. That we have to assume. If you want a more better insight on why we have to choose that, I can give you it in the next class, because even I have two arguments to consider here. Two arguments to consider why we have to choose in such a way that hi conjugate divided by summation of hk how it becomes 1, how it becomes 0, what is the assumption. I can talk to you on that average SNR of each branch in the next class.
Got it, sir. But throughout combining, I just fail to understand one thing, is that if we take the conjugate of all of the HIs are complex. So just by the act of taking a conjugate, how are we maximizing them? I don't understand that.
By taking the complex conjugate of it, how are you maximizing it? That's what.
Yeah, how does that result in a maximized value?
See, H is what? H is the channel matrix. I conjugate is in selection combining. What did we do in selection combining? I conjugate is nothing but arg max of hi square we did, right? Similarly, hi conjugate means the arg maximum of this hi with respect to individual SNR. Now, what does it mean? Alpha I is equal to hi conjugate means over all possible SNRs, you have to take it into consideration of hi conjugate, that is, which is maximum. Take the maximum hi divided by overall SNR of the individual branches. Now, simple. You try to understand this simple scheme here. Now, if I go back to slide 26, 27, 28, here, hi conjugate, how do you maximize? Now, look at this. Now, if you sort, what happens? Before combining, you have put some weights. Alpha 1, you have put some weight. Alpha 2, you have put some weight. Alpha 3, you have put some weight. Where are you putting alpha? In order to calculate alpha, you need the value of h, right? In order to calculate the value of alpha, you want h. What is h? H is a complex matrix or a complex signal. What is it combined with? It is combined with h into s. It is alpha, that the gain parameter, what you are referring to is the complex conjugate or the complex value of the signal that is multiplied with the channel. If you are maximizing the gain alpha, what does it mean? It means as good as you are maximizing h1, isn't it, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But if you want a more physical insight, then I have to draw something and explain. I have to. That is, see, expectation of s square, that's all it means. Expectation of s square means how are you making your signal that is unambiguous? How are you making that weight of the branch that is unambiguous? What does it mean? Expectation over noise. Expectation of signal square divided by expectation of noise. What does it mean? Summation I is equal to 1 to m or 1 to m or whatever it is, hi square whole square. So over hi square, the complex conjugate of noise term. So that is what, if hi conjugate, if you have not understood properly, then you have to look it in terms of signal with the complex conjugate of the channel. Channel is h with respect to s, the overall norm of the signal. Hi into s is increased with respect to noise. Hi into s has been increased with respect to noise. Still not followed? Anything?
I will redo, sir. I will redo this video.
Okay, we'll do one thing. Okay, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. If you have not understood, it's not understood. Let me take a simple example in the next class. Let's say perfect co-phasing, and I'll try to explain it in terms of SNR of the combined signal. Would that be? I think that I think that should solve the issue. Now, what I mean to say is, suppose if you have assume perfect co-phasing of the SNR of the combined signal, you have some gain of the signal with respect to some amplitude. You increase that, means you square the term into ES, the term what you have, divided by the variance, the noise variance, Gi square into sigma I square. Now, for whatever signal, if you have increased the value or the weight of the signal that has been high, which is placed higher, means that that is far away from the threshold value. Far away from the threshold. That I'll write and explain, don't worry. Write and explain. Anything?
Sir, what I'm trying to say is that I understand the physical interpretation of it, how alpha needs to vary and HI and all that.
Okay. Yeah.
The mathematical tools don't make sense.
It does make some sense. You don't say that, okay? It makes some sense.
To me, sir.
Yeah. Okay. It might not be convinced at this particular point of time. It's okay, fine. I'll try to explain it in terms of HI mod square with respect to argument max. I is equal to 1 to MR in the next class. Not a difficult task, but I need to rewrite some of the concepts in terms of G, AI, ES divided by 0 and sigma square variance. That's all. I'll try to do that. I'll try to do that in the next class. Anything other than that? Cool. Anything other than that? Please tell me if you have not understood anything. How many of you not understood anything? Okay, it's not wrong not understanding anything, but the thing is, slowly you have to follow some concepts behind what every selection combining or what combining does. If you don't simply follow the mathematical stuff, if you don't follow the crux of the concept, then it would be difficult for you to remember those equations. That becomes fairly tough and you lose interest in all these things. So we'll try to solve some problems on this, how exactly probability of error will vary. But first, I'll try to solve what is that maximization parameter and how exactly it maximizes SNR in the next class. Then I'll continue with the probability of error of good branch, why it is very good, why we are not leaving all the branches, and how it is processed with lesser weights with the other branches. Yes, anything? Cool. So if in the exam you will be asked something similar to what happens at the branches, what is the physical insight behind 2m degrees of freedom, what is that exponential moment generating, not moment generating function, what is that exponential distribution, how exactly it is varied, what is the core difference between your logical selection combining and logical MRC, and how MRC gives a normalization factor and how MRC will give you a better improvement over all those things. We have to discuss one more combining technique, and then we'll go for the realistic implementation of imperfect channel estimation, channel known at the transmitter, channel known at the receiver, how exactly diversity will play a major role in communication systems. And then without solving problems, if you read this book, it doesn't make any sense, because problems are all important. That will give you a physical insight into what it does, how exactly it does, what is this error, how selection combining and MRC can be understood with respect to the signal to noise ratio and outage probability. Okay. Okay. Right now for this class, just settle down. Just read this once again. I'll check the video. If the video is not properly uploaded, I'll try to upload that video properly. And if this video has been removed, I think it will be there in streams. I'll try to upload it once again. Or otherwise, we'll see how to do it. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Don't lose hope on mathematics and all. Okay, it's pretty easy. You just have to concentrate on some of the fundamental stuffs of probability random process. That's all. If you understand that, everything you will understand. Cool. We'll try to address Yuvraj's question in the next class, and then we will try to target some problems on probability of error, and then we'll go with one more combining technique, and then we'll go with realistic implementation and how exactly in 2000 Robert Calderbank and Nambi Sheshadri and Tarok Wahid, how they have implemented all these issues with respect to diversity, and how Shehbaz Alamoti came with a path-breaking analogy of what happens if you don't have a transmitter information availability. Channel is improperly known at the transmitter. Even if you lose some performance, how beautifully with low complexity decoding techniques, how beautifully you can construct. And receiver diversity, MRC kind of performance can be obtained with only diversity order. If you don't have a coding gain, how still it is possible? Even in 4G, in some of the 4G techniques, Alamoti combining technique has been used. And with that paper only, I'll try to explain, not with the book, because book has a lot of ambiguities over here. With 1998 paper only, I'll try to explain what is that CSIT, what is that CSIT non-availability, and how diversity gain and how coding gain is not available, how diversity will give a better analogy to Alamoti scheme. Fine, in most of the 4G schemes also, Alamoti has been incorporated, how beautifully correlated channels can be tackled by using Alamoti scheme. That we will discuss. Okay, thank you very much. And then just don't lose hope on mathematics. I'm repeatedly telling you that it's not so difficult. Just you have to try concentrate on math part. That's all. Brush up your M3, M4. That's all. You can easily do all these things. 100%, 200%, not 100, 200% you can do it. Okay, thank you. We will see you on Thursday. We'll meet on Thursday. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.